Greetings and welcome to the second semester of the year-long course of World Civilization. It's a course that encapsulates the entire span of human history of all civilizations across the world in these 2 semesters. My name is Dr. Kent Sigg, and I'm very glad to be your instructor and to lead you through this journey. And indeed, it is a journey. I think it's an experience we'll both be taking together. We will learn from each other in this online format. There is give and take, there is exchange. So I look to having a very valuable learning experience for us both. In terms of the course organization, it's a little different than taking this in a brick-and-mortar institution in a classroom. And yet, many things are still the same. You still must attend, i.e. log in and participate. And you still must get your assignments done on time. There are some enhanced aspects of the online training, though. For instance, we have an opportunity for discussion that can be very in-depth. You're given time to think and reflect because you're making written responses to the discussion questions and responding to other students, thereby engaging them. Sometimes that's hard to do in class, and not everyone is always prepared to participate, so I think that's a great opportunity. Keep in mind, though, to get your assignments done on time. The course is divided into units, or modules, as you'll see, and I think they work pretty well. Some require reading multiple chapters, others require just one chapter from the textbook. But in every module there are multiple readings and video presentations that you should view in order to provide supplementary material to your education on that particular set of topics within that module. There also will be an oral presentation by me introducing the module and a set of slides that should be very helpful to you in terms of encapsulating the information in a concise method. This is asynchronous learning, and that means we're not always online at the same time, and not always logged in to the learning platform at the same time. Yet that should not be a limitation. It gives us all a great deal of flexibility in terms of being able to engage. Now, history courses can be regarded by some students who haven't taken much of it or who didn't like it in high school or in previous training. It can be viewed as a little rigorous and perhaps overladen with readings. Well, history is a field without a specialized vocabulary, like, for example, if you took chemistry. And so it's a course that you can step into and begin to learn even the most advanced material right away. But that is done, as noted, through pretty heavy reading loads. Especially the schools of history in the United States really focus on empiricism and getting down to details, and that's what we'll be doing, no exception to that in this course. But the details form the basis of basically a story that you'll be telling. That has to be qualified and quantified and packaged properly. And it's all done according to a scholarly method that's in place. And yet, it comes out just like you would hear from your grandparents or somewhere on a summer afternoon, a story that's told about the past. Now, you have expectations on participation and on getting your assignments done. There are expectations from me in terms of giving you feedback and helping you move forward, and I will act to be prompt in that regard. Don't hesitate to ask me for assistance. On the site is the syllabus that we'll be using in the course, and so you can either refer to that, we'll talk about that now. The required text for the course is this one, Waves of the World by Strayer and Nelson. It's a very popular book. It's a relatively new book, only 3 editions in the academic market, but it's one that's very interesting because it does take a different approach than textbooks that have been used in past iterations of this course. Now, as noted just now, that will not be your only reading. However, the textbook really provides the adequate amount of detail and context to allow you to be successful in the course. So the textbook is really a must for you to get through the course. The description of the course I've already related, but we are covering history of mankind, but only from the beginning of the modern period, circa 1500, up through the present. It's a much shorter period when you can cover spanning back hundreds of thousands of years to proto-humans and hunter-gatherer civilizations that didn't record their history, through the great civilizations of antiquity, and then those up through the present. So this is a very concentrated time frame we'll be looking at, and that means the material and detail of it comes pretty rapidly. In terms of objectives, I do want you to learn the material, but also understand how it applies. What is the context of it? And to come to a conclusion that what you learn about the past will be useful for you now and in the future. It can apply to a broad number of fields, and the way in which you study history, the critical analysis of it, will be invaluable for you in terms of being able to acquire methods that will be very useful in other fields. In addition, studying history is important just for that, just to study history. Doesn't necessarily have to have an applicability. Studying history will make you more educated, more well-rounded, really a better citizen in many regards. And I'll add more on that in a few moments. I do want to look at the assignments that you'll have, of course. With each unit there are discussion questions posted. Some have 2, but there are 15 for the entire block. These aren't just chats, but you'll have to respond to them in a more sophisticated manner rather than just a yes or no or agreement or disagreement expressed. We'll want to have substance in there. Your opinion and analysis is very important, and utilize or incorporate factual information that you've read that supports what you're saying. So you'll want to address those discussion questions each week by Thursday in order to give your colleagues enough time to reply, and then you will reply to comments or questions raised by other students, at least one or more, and those are also graded. We have activity reports that are due. These will be discussed further each time as they come due, but these are designed for you to ferret out more information on specific topics that we only touch upon lightly, given that this is a survey course. It can be reviews of books, of journal articles, i.e. academically written articles, a film, etc. You can do a review of that, a synopsis, and then place it into context and submit that. Again, late papers will be penalized. Your last assignment that's due is what I've termed an exhibition paper, and I really want you to delve into cultural and artistic aspects of world civilization. Something that gets minimal shrift in the books, other books and sources that we read, but I would like you to visit a museum or an art show or even an archives, something that features some aspects of art and culture, and then you can write an essay upon that, again placing it into context, quoting and using citations correctly, and we'll have more information on that, but that will be due towards the end of the semester. I do note that a formal citation style is directed. I have description of that in the syllabus, but also you should look at some helpful references that I've attached to the first course module. Grading scale is a standard one, and it's based upon the total number of points that you've achieved, based upon grades that you've accumulated for the assignments throughout the semester. Do want to stress to you to be fair and civil in your comments online. Be formal and don't take anything personally. This is an opportunity for us to explore ideas, but not to attack people. The course schedule appears on the final page, and that's broken up by weeks with readings attached to those weeks. I do note breaks throughout the term are not listed there. These are references to the exact course weeks. It does move pretty fast, so keep up with the readings and, most importantly, enjoy them. Brief comment on taking a history course and why you should take this class and study history in general. It's been said that history repeats itself. I, as a person educated decades ago, having received a doctorate in the field and then worked as an historian for many decades, do not subscribe to that belief. The facts change, the context of problems change, the world situation changes, and things are never exactly the same in human history. However, that does not mean that we cannot learn from the past. Indeed, the past can be invaluable to actions we take now or in the future. Indeed, most people and most fields of academic study that you take are focused upon the future. You're trying to predict what will happen, trying to provide solutions to problems that are ongoing or will arise in the future. History looks backward to occurrences that have already happened, and yet you can apply examples of things tried, of successes and failures, to problems that will face you throughout your professional career. So, in that way, if you think about it, history is invaluable to you, and it's not just as a student, but as a professional later on. It's also valuable to you as a citizen, becoming a good citizen of this country and of the world. If you know the past, if you know the origins and development of various societies, not just our own, but others that we may engage with, that can be extremely important to you. You can understand why things have happened and predict what will happen based upon development in the past. So historical meaning can be very, very important to you in understanding other people's, but also our society. And once you understand our society, that will make you a better citizen overall. You'll be informed, you'll appreciate the long term, and be able to place short-term occurrences in their proper context. History is a rigorous academic study, but it's also a craft. The writing of history is something that has to be done in a way that appeals to the public that will read it, to your audience that you intend to write it for. History straddles the line between a social science and a humanities artistic type field. So it's not just the information you find or the content that you write about or proffer in a lecture. It's how you present that material, how you package it. And so to be a good historian, you must have an ability to really make things interesting. Not all historians have that, and indeed, as noted, especially American trained historians are focused on heavy data and empiricism and don't necessarily have the experience and exposure to more grand theories and to more interesting ways of presenting the field. History is very important for our identity collectively and your identity as a person. It will describe a lot about you, where you've gone. And you think events that occurred long ago have no relevance to you. But I've worked even in recent years with people who are semi-retired but served in World War II. And here I'm still working with them, and an event that occurred so long ago is still guiding their judgments and formed their character, and they're imparting a lot of that to me when I work with them. I mean, you talk to your parents, and they may have been influenced by the 1980s. You talk to your grandparents, and they're influenced by a generation or two behind that, where there was a very different set of social circumstances. And so they're attitudes, their mindsets, the paradigm that guides them is very different than what yours is now. However, you can also find commonalities. History is also valuable in a technical sense, the ability to gather evidence and data, the ability to assess it, the ability to deal with conflicts, because history by its nature is fragmented. We don't have a complete picture because we only study what has survived. In ancient history, that may be an artifact, a statue, or a vase. In more recent history, it's documentation, but even that's not a full record because things get deleted. Think of your own lives, and things get thrown out, and there's only a fraction of what you've generated that survives. But history can take that incomplete record, and conclusions about that, interpretations of it, can be set. Sometimes they conflict, but that's really what moves history forward when you address those conflicts. So history is extremely valuable to you. There's skills transfer. It's relevant to present and future ongoings. It's a great background in almost any field. A history degree would be valuable to you, and if you went to law school, if you went into business. I myself had a career in the government's intelligence community, and history was a perfect background for that. So taking this class is a good investment for you. But what you'll take away from studying history will prove very useful to you in any number of fields. You know about societies around the world, you'll know about culture, and you'll learn something new, facts and occurrences that don't quite fit logically, because human nature is not logical, and myths or misconceptions that you've had about what has happened in the past will be challenged, and I'm certain by the end of the semester you will know things that are very different from what you may believe now that happened. World history is a very important topic to study. I do want to note that this class may have been called Western Civilization in fairly recent years. Certainly when I was taking it, it focused primarily on Europe and the contributions of Europe to human history. However, much of what occurred elsewhere in the world was just as equally important and just as equally contributed to moving human progress forward. Things that occurred in Asia or Africa or Latin America, occurrences there, firsts that happened, inventions, impacted certainly Europe and North America during that time. The world did not operate in a vacuum. You'll be surprised at the interconnections that you will learn. And so we're here to gain a global understanding of the human past and to place that within the appropriate context. And that context cuts across a variety of civilizations and patterns well beyond our own here in the United States, or that of our direct antecedents in Europe. So we're dealing with quite a bit in this course. Keep up and enjoy it. You'll have more from me in the next module.